Grand Rising, my fellow brothers and sisters. We don't say good morning over here, not for this day. Today is a very special day. In case you missed it, this is the Black Collective's Independence Day, aka Juneteenth holiday. And for the record, Juneteenth is now a federally recognized holiday, which means that my black ass is off of work today. Hallelujah. But anyway, enough about me. This video isn't about me. This video is about this very influential, powerful sister that I found on Tik Tok. And she's been speaking some mad volumes. And I'm going to tag her channel so y'all can go ahead and check out her content and show her some love. Because this one right here, she got my attention. And this video that she's going to speak about is the explanation of 40 Acres and a Mule. You know, as a people, I don't think a lot of people understand the true definition of 40 Acres and a Mule and why it's so important to the black community, okay? Now, I ain't no revolutionary Negro, but I will tell you this. I am for the people, by the people, and I will support all the black people that come across my screen, okay? Especially the woke community. Yes, I love the woke community, okay? Now, what I want y'all to learn from this video that I'm about to share with you guys is that certain things like Juneteenth, 40 Acres and a Mule, Emancipation Proclamation is not just the history, it's the legacy of the history that makes a difference. Remember that. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoy this video. And let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And again, if you don't know what Juneteenth is, more power to you. And I would highly suggest you do some research and type in your Google search bar, what is Juneteenth holiday? But anyway, that message is only for the lost souls that don't do any deep diving inside of our rich black history, such as Juneteenth. And for the record, before I go, I also wanted to share that I made a very, very long essay of a post on my channel that you can see on my wall explaining the history and the origins of Juneteenth holiday and why it's so important to the black community. And you can feel free to read it. If you don't want to read it, there's plenty of audiobooks on Amazon, okay? But anyway, I'm going to go now. All right, I'll talk to y'all later.
There's been a lot of talk about 40 Acres and a Mule since Kendrick's Super Bowl performance. So I wanted to give you the full explanation of what 40 Acres and a Mule actually is. The promise of 40 Acres and a Mule is tied to the period of Reconstruction in the United States following the Civil War. The American Civil War ended in April of 1865, and the southern states seceded and were integrated into the Union. One of the most pressing issues was how to address the freed slaves. The United States government established the Freedmen's Bureau, which aimed to assist formerly enslaved people and poor white people in the South by providing food, housing, medical care, education, and employment. In January of 1865, in response to the devastation caused by the war, General Sherman issued Special Field Orders number 15. This directive set aside land along the coast of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida for the settlement of freed slaves. It granted 40 acres of land to each family of freedmen, and in some cases, the military mules were also provided for farming. This is where the 40 acres and a mule promise originates. In April of 1865, President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, and Vice President Andrew Johnson became president. Johnson's views on Reconstruction were much more lenient toward the South, and he was less supportive of policies that would benefit former slaves. After Lincoln's assassination, President Andrew Johnson issued a proclamation that reversed Sherman's order. He ordered that the land given to freed slaves be returned to former Confederate landowners. This was part of his broader policy of rapid reintegration of the Southern states without significant protections for the newly freed black population. Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which aimed to protect the civil rights of former slaves and grant them citizenship. However, the law didn't address the land ownership or economic independence for freed people. During this time was also the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. In the mid-1860s, the Ku Klux Klan and other white supremacist groups began to form in the South. They sought to intimidate and terrorize freed black people, making it even harder for them to claim land or fully participate in American society. When they did away with Sherman's order, most of the freed slaves were never able to acquire land. The idea of 40 acres and a mule was not widely realized, and many former slaves remained economically dependent. Congress passed the Reconstruction Acts, which divided the South into military districts and required Southern states to create new constitutions that guaranteed black men the right to vote. However, these efforts still did not address land distribution on a large scale to keep the wage gap where it was. In 1877, when President Rutherford B. Hayes agreed to withdraw federal troops from the South in exchange for Southern Democrats accepting his election, this led to the rise of Jim Crow laws and the disenfranchisement of black people, making it even more difficult for them to gain economic independence and land ownership. The promise of 40 acres and a mule remained unfulfilled, and many black families were left landless. Land equaled money. Land is what created this significant wage gap that still exists today. Black people built this country. Their free labor built this country. Our free labor made the United States a superpower. This is a fact, not an opinion, and we have never been paid for making this country a superpower. Get that through your head. That is what this is about. That is how ghettos were created. That is how our schools are still underfunded. That is how I can have the same job as a white person and still get paid less than them because of the promise of 40 acres and a mule never being fulfilled. And that is why black people deserve reparations, because none of you would be here without us. The lack of land redistribution remains a significant chapter in the history of racial inequality in the United States. 40 acres and a mule was an initial promise made during Reconstruction that ultimately was not honored. And the failure to provide land to freed slaves is a significant part of the larger story of systemic racism and economic disenfranchisement in the U.S. to this day. So, as the world begins to watch black people get their 40 acres and a mule by any means necessary, understand it is owed. This video was brought to you by the Black Revolutionary Collective, an organization focused on building economic power and political power for all black people everywhere. I love you, black man. I love you, black woman. Knowledge is power. Power to the people.